Okay, you so far have only been giving my betting predictions for the Seahawks games, but now I'm going to do the rest of the teams. First, I have looking to the matchup. I have Chargers and Chiefs. The spread is Chiefs win by 7 points. I would take the Chargers because the Chargers are a pretty good team, and the Chiefs have shown to be not unbeatable because how they lost to the Ravens, and the Chargers seem to be not any worse than the Ravens. I would say the Chargers are a strong team, and 7 points is a big spread, fairly big spread. So I would take the Chargers. I'm not saying the Chargers will win, but I don't think the Chiefs would win by 7. I don't think the Chiefs will cover that spread. Next game I have Giants and Falcons. The spread is, what did that say? Giants win by 3. I would easily take the Giants to cover that spread. The game is in New York, I believe, and I think the Giants are a much better team. Their defense is reasonably good, whereas the Falcons' offense is horrible. And then the Giants' offense, they're going to have healthy Saquon Barkley. The Giants' offense is actually underrated. And the Falcons' offense has some talent, but they can't put it together. I think the Giants will dominate the Falcons on both sides of the ball. I would easily take the Giants to cover that spread. The next game is Steelers versus Bengals. Bengals spread is Steelers win by 3. I believe J.J. Watt is out. Let's see. Not J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt. I said the wrong guy. Yeah, he's out. I'm not feeling decisive about that game either way, so I'm not going to say anything. If I'm not sure about a game, I'm just not going to say anything. The next game is Bills versus football team. Bills win by 7. That's a really big spread. I would probably take the Bills to cover just because they're a really good team. Football team has some work to go. I would take the Bills to cover that spread. Next game is Titans versus Colts. Titans win by 6. I'm going to definitely take the Titans to win that game. The Titans are pretty good, actually, as proven against the Seahawks. But then the Colts, I think, are without Carson Wentz. So they're going to have some problems at quarterback. He was decent while healthy, so the Colts are going to have problems, especially on offense. So I would take the Titans to cover that spread. Next game is Cardinals versus Jaguars. Cardinals win by 8 points. I know that's a big spread, but the Jaguars have been awful this year. Just awful. And the Cardinals have put up a lot of points. The Jaguars' defense doesn't look that great. They don't look good on either side of the ball, so I'm going to take the Cardinals, even though that's a big spread. Next game is Ravens versus Lions. Ravens win by 8. I would take, even though that's a big spread, I'm going to take the Ravens to cover. The fact that the Ravens beat the Chiefs means they can beat anyone, and the Lions are a really bad team this year. So that's a fair spread. The Green Bay beat the Lions by 14 points, and Ravens don't appear to be much worse, if any worse, than Green Bay. So that sounds like they would cover. Patriots versus Saints. Patriots win by 3. For the Saints, I think the game against Green Bay was a fluke, and the Patriots have a pretty good roster. Mac Jones has been as good as they could hope for so far. So I would definitely take the Patriots to cover that game. Next game is Browns versus Bears. Browns win by 8. I think the Browns are the better team. obviously, but there's one thing that I'm counting on, which is this. There's a lack of tape on Justin Fields. Preseason doesn't count, and often when there's a lack of tape on a quarterback, that makes it harder for defensive coordinators to scheme against him because they don't know what to expect. So Justin Fields, at least temporarily, has the element of surprise on his side so he can be effective. So I'm going to take the Bears. Not to win the game necessarily, but that the Browns are not going to win by 8. So I'm saying they're not going to cover the spread. I would bet on the Bears for that reason. Next game is Browns versus Broncos. Browns versus Jets. Broncos win by 11. That is a huge spread. And I generally don't like betting on a team when the spread is that big, but I've been high on the Broncos since before the season started, and the Jets have been much worse than I thought they would even be. Bradley Chubb being out is rough for Denver, but I don't think that's going to be enough here, so I would take the Broncos. Next spread is Ravens versus Dolphins. Raiders versus Dolphins. Raiders win by 4. Dolphins are without Tua, and I don't think they have any backups that are any good. And for that reason, I would take the Raiders. The Raiders have been a pretty good team this year, and the Dolphins are without Tua. I think their offense is going to be pretty bad. So, I would take the Raiders. The next game is where the action is. Buccaneers versus Rams. Buccaneers win by 2. Obviously, this is a great game. It could easily be the NFC Championship game. On paper, this is a close matchup, but I think the Buccaneers are more explosive, at least on offense, but they're pretty loaded on both sides of the ball in terms of talent. Not that the Rams lack talent, but just the Buccaneers are loaded. I would tend to take the Buccaneers. So for that reason, I'm going to bet on the Buccaneers to cover the spread. The next game is Seahawks versus Vikings. Seahawks win by 2. I already made a video on that. I took the Seahawks. The next game is 49ers and Packers. The spread is 49ers win by 3. Obviously, as a Seahawks fan, I'm rooting for the Packers. But I would bet on the 49ers to not cover the spread just because the Packers seem to be a phenomenal team. Not that the 49ers are bad, but they don't seem to be quite as good as the Packers, and I don't think home field is enough to overtake that. Should be a good game. Cowboys versus Eagles. Spread is Cowboys win by 4. I would easily take the Cowboys to cover that spread. They seem to be like an excellent team. I don't think the Eagles are that good. Better than people thought they would be, but not as good as the Cowboys, so I would take the Cowboys to cover. Bengals versus Jaguars. Bengals win by 6. That's a fairly big spread, and I think the Jaguars have been underperforming and have to win sometime. So I would bet against the spread and go with the Jaguars. So those are my picks.